They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. They call me sissy, they call me prissy, they call me missy when I'm chatting with the limpy wristy. My head is busy, throwing a hissy, no pop the pissy while I chilly with my Millie on the Forbes listy. Breakfast at Tiffy, they ass kissy, they washy bushy boo boo kitty, but they busy tell them they can miss me. My head is dizzy, my money Disney, McGuire Lizzie, so don't roll up to my hizzy, I'm through like a frisbee. They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. This shit is daggy, not to be braggy, but yeah, I'm living in that mansion with the rainbow flaggy. They want a picture, they wanna tag me, they try to drag me. Now I'm making millions and I'm doing it in draggy. Cause I'm the one, I'm the one, I'm the one, I'm the one, I'm the one. I'm that bitch, I'm the bitch, I'm that bitch, I'm that bitch, I'm that bitch. And I know that I know that I know that I know that I know. I'm the shit, I'm the shit, I'm the shit. But they used to call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. Ooh, where are you now? Here to speak up. None of them bullies could keep up. Now it is you, I don't feature. Looks like I won, yeah, I beat you. Now you need me, I don't need you. No, I will not come and meet you. Now I just blast on the speaker. I'm on the beach in the pizza. Honestly, now they deliver my pizza. They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. They call me fag, now I'm the one with the bag. They call me bitch, now look who famous and rich. They threw they stones, and now they begging for loans. They threw they sticks, and now they riding my dick. This fag rich, they swag poor. They ain't calling me back no more. Now they slide in my DMs when they see me on TV. Diss me with that country.
What's going on, Conscious Crew? It is your favorite breakdown commentator, CTV. Welcome to another riveting episode of the Consciouztv platform. You guys already know what we're here to get into, and before we do so, I need you guys to go ahead and thumbs up the button, honey. Bully the hell out of that thumbs up feature. We have a lot to get into, girl. It's been one incredible and very fascinating week. All right. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. We are also, woo, we're just days away from my 40th birthday. I'm shooketh. I'm shooketh, you all. Shooketh. Okay? Shooketh. Anywho, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, 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 share. If you enjoy everything that the King does here, make sure that you guys subscribe and that you donate to the platform at $Consciouztv and or paypal.me/ConsciouzTV, and that's conscious with the Z on the end, just spelled just how it is here on the platform. All donation information is in the description box below, as well as in this ticker at the bottom of the screen in black and white from right to left of the screen. Also, share the stream out to whatever it is you have digital community, whether that be YouTube community wall, your Snapchat, your MySpace, dark side of Twitter, Tumblr, or your personal OF. I don't really give a damn where you impact the link. Just let them whores know that we're loud, live, and in calling. With no further ado, let's go ahead and push on through.
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your asshole.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Ooh, girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, what is going on, Conscious Crew? Sorry for the delay, honey. It is a lot going on, honey. We have a lot of content to pump out this week, honey. We got to get into y'all favorite Queen of Grape, honey. You know, just really allowing all of her true colors to shine. And I love this for Onika. I love this for the Barbs. We're going to get into all of that tomorrow. So make sure that you guys are glued in, child, because it is a lot going on, honey. We got to get into Miss Pat and her dialogue around her lesbian daughter. We got to get into some housewives drama, honey. You know, she's been popping all the way off for the month of November. Remember, we're also in a retrograde. So this retrograde is the last retrograde of the year. Usually this is the most hardcore, violent-ass retrograde that we have throughout the year. It doesn't end until the 16th. So don't be surprised if you come home to divorce papers. Don't be surprised if you find yourself filing for divorce, girl. Okay, don't be surprised, girl, if you all of a sudden start to have intrusive thoughts about putting your kids into the oven, you know, and just taking a long walk for about an hour. Okay. Retrograde typically pushes people to be on demon time so that they can get to the rooty of their tootie. It's really for the sake of introspection. All right. So just keep your head on a swivel, baby. Okay. And try to give other people grace as you experience them from here to the new year, girl, because between everything happening politically and everything that's happening astrologically, girl, it is enough to just bring out the worst, even in the strongest of people, girl. So y'all try to be patient and try to love each other. And speaking of being patient and loving each other, you guys, I can't tell you how, indeed, just how happy I was to see tonight's panel. We're going to get into everything that popped off. T.S. Madison sounded off with all of the girls tonight as a result of trauma. Not even trauma, but more so drama and controversy that popped off at Goat's Gym, girl. Okay. Now, singer Tish Hyman, who I thought was a goddamn bodybuilder. I've never heard of Tish Hyman. Apparently she is a songstress. She's a vocalist. Okay. She hits that microphone. I didn't have time to really put an ear to any of her music, but she's apparently also a faithful member of Gold's Gym, baby. And she was in for the shock of her life when she was in the women's locker room and a trans woman, a white trans woman by the name of Alexis Black, was pooching around in practically all of nothing while she herself was, you know, bearing it all on the locker room floor. This led to Tish being outraged. It led to both ladies' memberships being revoked, and they both have taken to TMZ to give their account of what took place that day. And it has spawned a lot of conversations and reignited conversations about mutual shared spaces between trans people and biological folk, particularly trans women and biological women, girls. So, you know, we got to get into all of that. I know y'all hate this conversation, and I hate to have it with you all because I just think that this is such a tired ass issue. And, you know, just I can't wait till the day until we're all finally one big, happy, non-dysfunctional family, which probably won't be until white Jesus comes saving us from ourselves and that nasty wrath from our Lord and Savior as prophesied by the motherfucking Bible, bitch. But that's also another story for another day. So let's go ahead and get into some handy dandy footage we have here. Make sure that you guys, once again, are thumbing up the video. I'm probably going to drop the link. I'm going to try not to keep you guys here long, even though this is such a nuanced discussion. But, you know, this topic is no stranger to the channel. So check out Tish Hyman outrage and sounding off at Goat's Gym about Alexis Black, white trans woman, girl.
Goat's Gym! Men! Grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room! And that's why I'm getting kicked out, and I want to make sure the girls know! Everybody saw that man in the locker room. No one saying shit. And I'm done with it. out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room.
Now, what's fascinating about this is that Tish is also a card-carrying member of the LGBT community. She would be the L in the acronym. And we're going to do an encore so you guys can take that in one more time.
I'm getting kicked out. Grown gym. Men. Grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room. And that's why I'm getting kicked out. And I want to make sure the girls know. Everybody saw that man in the locker room. No one saying shit. And I'm done with it. It's stupid. It's dangerous. Me naked in front of a man without my permission. But I'm the one who gets kicked out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room.
Okay, and this was more of the aftermath of what took place. Now, here is Alexis Black, a white trans woman, okay? This is in the aftermath of Alexis putting on her clothes and coming out to the hallway to deal with all of the ruckus that Tish started, okay? So check out this confrontation.
He needs to have his gym membership revoked for that shit. And the woman told you. He assaulted me. The girl told already. We already filed reports. No. The video. You can't get rid of me for this. I'm a woman and I have every right to not want a man in the restroom when I'm naked. There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay. I'm not causing. Did you tell me or not that women like to see dick?
I'm asking you a fucking question.
Exactly. Get out of the way now. No. Now he knows how to be a man, right? Now he knows how to be a man. Stay out of the women's locker room. We don't want it. He needs to have his gym membership revoked for that shit. And the woman told you. He assaulted me. The girl told already. We already filed reports. No. The video. You can't get rid of me for this. I'm a woman and I have every right to not want a man in the restroom when I'm naked. There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay. I'm not causing.
Girl, I'd be gagged. Girl, I'd be gagged about these issues, girl. It's too much, girl. Okay, and so both Tish and Alexis took to TMZ to give an interview. So we're going to get into their follow-up where Tish is going to provide more information about her experience, because this was not the first time that her and Miss Alexis encountered each other. There's been 4 different interactions at apparently multiple GOAT gym locations, which is interesting to me. LA must be a very small place. I assume this is a LA GOAT gym. All right, check out Tish talking to TMZ.
This guy around and there's about 4 weeks ago, the first encounter happened. I was naked. I was drying up and oiling up. I turned around and there's a man in the locker room. And so, of course, I'm shocked. I'm like, I thought maybe I missed a sign and that there were workers working. So I just said, sir. I didn't even get to say a sentence or anything. I just was in shock and figuring out that there's a man behind me while I'm naked. And I say, sir. And then he goes, you can't tell me nothing. B word, I'm a woman. And I'm like, what? Now, listen, guys, I don't have anything against anyone. So I was just in shock. I've never been presented with this in my whole entire life. So I'm just in shock and I start screaming and asking for help. The people come into the locker rooms and they kind of escort him out, but not out of the gym, just out of the locker room so I could get dressed. And then I made a report and nothing was followed up on. And that was an experience that I couldn't even believe, and I had to understand this. So now I'm processing this, still trying to keep up with my life. I go back to the studio, I work. The next day I do it. I try to do my same routine, go to the gym. I say, maybe this is an isolated incident. The next day I go there and I run into this perpetrator, this predator, because I have to call it like it is, this guy. And I'm coming into the gym, so I'm just already traumatized from yesterday being naked. And now I'm seeing a whole nother dude that's bigger than the last dude in the room. So now I'm like, sir.
So there were two different people?
There are multiple people. There are multiple people. The reason why I spoke out like this, guys, is because I've had this experience with trans women in the women's locker room disrespecting me, not meeting me with any empathy, literally men who are crazy. And this happened like 6 to 7 times in the last 3 to 4 weeks. It hasn't been a month.
I'm not trying to be gratuitously graphic, but were the people that you saw in the locker room undressed? Were they completely naked walking around?
Let me be clear. I want to get into this to the details because it's important, the details. Now, were the men naked? No. They were men in men's clothing in the locker room. They don't need to be naked to be scary as hell.
Okay, so she's clarifying that these trans women who apparently are of a high population wherever she is, they weren't naked, they were clothed in the women's locker room.
There's no way that there's no 42 years old, can you imagine? It's gonna be overturned. There's no way they were men in men's clothing in the locker room. They don't need to be naked to be scary as hell.
This sounds like a ridiculous question, but if they were in the process of transitioning, I don't know. Was it evident to you? Why was it evident to you they were men? I mean, were they people?
Because they were men. I don't want to, listen, like I said, I don't know much about this particular part of the community. I'm not in that lifestyle. I'm just a lesbian living life. So up until this point, I had no idea that these people were allowed to go into the women's restroom. I saw the sports and I was like confused. I thought maybe this is going to be overturned. There's no way they're going to let this go through because this doesn't make sense. It's just, but somehow that did happen and it is happening. So now I'm being met with all of this like this, right? And the type of woman I am, the type of human being I am, I am a musician. I'm not into politics. This is a nonpartisan issue. This is about women and men and women's safety. And honestly, since I spoke out, I've heard from more men as well. It's happening to them in their locker rooms with women. And although it's not a physical danger, it's uncomfortable and it's an invasion of privacy. Like, I'm 42 years old. Can you imagine a 20-year-old woman? So let me get through to this because I need the people of the world to understand what's happening here. This happened 6 to 7 times in a 30-day period. Of course, I was fed up by the time y'all saw this. So the second time, this guy, I walk into him in the locker room and I say, sir, you just can't be in here, like in this tone, because I'm just.
Let me just pause it right here. Okay, so I'm not going to say that there are no biological men who are upset by trans men in our spaces as men, but collectively, we are not outraged and don't give a fuck and really aren't even paying trans men any attention. Not like any negative attention, to be quite honest. And even as king of the gays myself, like, I'm obviously still a male. I present as a male. I live as a male. I'm just a pretty bitch. I still occupy men's spaces. I use men's restrooms. I'm in locker rooms myself. I go to the gym myself. I sit wherever men fucking sit. I'm wherever men are assigned to be as a man. So it's just not an issue. It's not even a conversation amongst men. Like, we're not having any Supreme Court hearings about trans men. We're not huddled up in corners talking about and grieved about trans men. Trans men are able to be and exist and move around as they desire. There's no pushback. It's all right. It's okay. So this is literally a exclusive trans woman issue. The cis men and trans men are not in a versus match at all. Also, some people are noticing that there are some discrepancies in her account. She says that she's never dealt with this before, and then talked about dealing with it 6 to 7 different times in a 1 month period. So it might be that Tish is putting 20 on 10 and being very dramatic in order to really push her point, or maybe even to justify her frustration or why she acted the way that she acted by claiming that she's just frustrated with this and this is going on every which way she turned. I'm so sorry, Trish, that you're having to encounter trans people who too have to take a shit, who too have to take a piss, who too would love to shower after they've gone to the gym to do what everybody else does, which is work out. I'm just so sorry that you have to, share lanes and driveways, and you have to share neighborhoods, and you have to share, workspaces and cubicles, and you have to share, the women's department of Target together. I'm just so sorry, baby, but yeah, you're going to be encountering trans women a lot, baby. They have to pay their bills and go about their daily activities just like you, and they're just trying to be cute, and find them a little piece of man, and work that waist out, honey, and get those titties and keep those buns of steel, girl. They're just trying to get it, how everybody else gets it, baby. I'm so sorry, this isn't the 1920s anymore. Queer people as a whole are not living in the sewage system. We are proud mutants and we live above ground now. So I'm so sorry, baby. Seems like Tish is having, a bit of a culture shock here, having a bit of a meltdown. She is not appreciating all of the people that that have to also take up space in this society, because this is a diverse society.
And that's how they identified. Not a physical danger. These people were
in the process of transitioning. I don't know. Was it evident to why was it evident to you they were men? I mean, were they people?
Because they were men. 1 month. I don't want to, listen. Like I said, I don't know much about this particular part of the community. I'm not in that lifestyle. I'm just a lesbian living life. So up until this point, I had no idea that these people were allowed to go into the women's restroom. I saw the sports and I was like confused. I thought maybe this is going to be overturned. There's no way they're going to let this go through because this doesn't make sense. It's just, but somehow that did happen and it is happening. So now I'm being met with all of this like this, right? And the type of woman I am, the type of human being I am, I am a musician. I'm not into politics. This is a nonpartisan issue. This is about women and men and women's safety. And honestly, since I spoke out, I've heard from more men as well. It's happening to them in their locker rooms with women. And although it's not a physical danger, it's uncomfortable and it's an invasion of privacy. Like, I'm 42 years old. Can you imagine a 20-year-old woman? So let me get through to this because I need the people of the world to understand what's happening here. This happened 6 to 7 times in a 30-day period. Of course, I was fed up by the time y'all saw this. So the second time, this guy, I walk into him in the locker room and I say, sir, you just can't be in here, like in this tone, because I'm just like, I can't believe I'm walking into this a day after this happened to me the first time. He says, B word, I'm a woman, get with it. Get the F out of the locker room if you don't like it. And I'm in shock. I'm like, are you kidding me? So now I'm like, all right, let me read the law. Because there's no way that there's no protection on women. I just couldn't believe it. And the more I went out there and started reading, I was like, oh, snap, there is no protection for women.
These were not transgender women who were presenting as women. They were presenting to you as men. Is that right?
These were transgender women who said they were transgender women and told me that they were women. I'm not going to get into the who presented game over here.
Well, I think
I'm
it's
gonna get
important.
into the reality.
I think that's important. You said they were obviously men. So,
they were men, and they were telling me they were trans women, and that's how they identified. And honestly, not all of them. The one I saw the last day that I worked at Gold's Gym, who saw my naked body, the last day that they terminated my membership, came in there and said, "Lucky I ain't catch you outside." A black passing quote-unquote trans woman.
So your membership has been revoked.
And we need to cancel gym memberships all around America because there's no protection for women's safety. If you stand up for women, if you have a daughter, you have a sister, there were girls in there who were traumatized, and they're thanking me for being there. And I didn't do this for any attention or anything. I did this because I was genuinely scared that no one was going to be there to warn the girls. There are no signs in there to tell the girls, hey, there are men in here. No one cares.
We got it.
Where are the bathrooms? Gold's just built that gym in Beverly Center. Why didn't they put a trans restroom in there if they care so goddamn much?
But poor Trish girl. I mean, she's really having she's having a literal cultural crisis. Like, this is what being culture shocked feels like. You know, she's shocked. She's shocked. This is really about Tish being shocked that trans women are able to actually occupy women's spaces. You know, it's a shock. So now we're going to get into Alexis interview, girl. Now, this is Alexis, right? So this is Alexis who I think Alexis just started chemically transitioning this year, I think February, Alexis. So, you know, she's very late in her transition. But this is her, you know, after showering, after finish, you know, she's not in the gym in full glam, you know, eyelashes popping and twirling everywhere, you know, she's at the gym, you know, carrying on about her business. But when she sits down with TMZ, she is going to be in full form. And this is Miss Alexis, honey. And let's get into her side of the story.
We spoke with Tish, and she said when she came face to face with you, it was obvious to her you were a man. So, you know, I don't want to get terribly graphic here, but can you kind of explain, you know, how you appeared? You know, do you believe that she was reading something in that you didn't appear to be male? She perceived you to be such.
Well, first, I told the people that raised me that this is the way that I was when I was 8 years old. And really, I stuffed it down pretty deep. And I began using hormones this year in February. And I actually relinquished that information to her about, you know, name change. And it says female on my ID and hormones. And I mean, I'm registered as a female with the gym. So.
And were you at that moment, because she told us about a couple of different encounters, were you fully clothed at that moment?
Well, she has become aggressive with me on 4 different occasions, actually at different locations in Los Angeles at Gold's Gym. But
so what's interesting is that it might be possible that when Trish said she's encountered or had to deal with this 6 or 7 times in 1 month, she's really talking about her consistent run-ins with Alexis girl, since Alexis is claiming that this is like the 4th time that Trish has tried to put her through a humiliation ritual of the sorts. And once again, I'm a little gagged because I'm just wanting to know, girl, how are they even ending up at different Gold's gyms at the same time, girl? Because that's a whole key and a whole cackle.
fully clothed. I believe I was enrobed in a towel on one occasion. And this last time I was clothed the entire time. Yeah.
Okay. Again, I apologize if this is too graphic, but I just think it's important.
Let's speak truth, baby.
Okay. Have you fully transitioned?
Be clearer when you say that.
Your genitalia.
That is a process that requires a quite lengthy work. Like, for instance, I sat in a chair and had hair follicles removed from my face for 2 hours yesterday in a process called electrolysis. In order to have that surgery down there, one must have every single hair done that. And in order to do that, it would take would you say a year or two to have that done. It's literally not even a possibility with where I am in my transition.
So look, from her perspective, I'm just wondering if you see her perspective. She's saying that she's looking at you, say, in a towel, and you still have male genitalia, and you may be transitioning, but could you understand her being uncomfortable?
Well, I certainly do not understand it, but I do get the notion of the fear-mongering that she's perpetuating. The truth in the moment is far from what she is purporting it to be. Literally every time that she's done that, I've had women in the locker room comforting me because of how aggressive she was towards me.
So, we have seen video of that confrontation just outside of the locker room between yourself and Tish.
So what's interesting, right, is that Alexis and Tish both got their memberships revoked, which means that this recent altercation is what led to that. Apparently, there's been no other complaints about Tish in this gym from other women. She goes to lots of gyms, lots of ghost gyms. And it really hasn't been an issue outside of Miss Tish.
And at the end of it, I saw that.
So it seems to be Tish that's having a very unique experience.
You walked back into the women's locker room, but I understand that you also have had your membership revoked by Golds. What did they say to you?
Well, initially they said that she and I guess Tish is her name.
Right.
Initially they said we were in the same boat, but Golds, it's been bought by EOS now, so they phoned me and I'm not sure if it's written in red ink or what, but it's definitely being evaluated. I love that place. Golds is like my sanctuary, especially at the Beverly Center. Catch me there. I love that place.
So she was saying, why don't they have a third bathroom? Especially the gym you're talking about at the Beverly Center. That's been recently built. They had a layout that they could have adjusted and they could have put a third locker room in. Do you think that would have been appropriate, or do you feel like you are as entitled to use the women's locker room just as Tish is?
That's a great question. I'm glad that she said it, that she have put it on the air. And the answer is that would necessitate two different ones, because some people trans MTF, some people go FTM. And so that's two rooms right there. You're not going to put a trans woman with a trans man just because we're trans. That seems like a new envelope of discrimination. But yeah, it's just I feel like this had to happen in order for people to learn about trans. It's a thing. We're here. We're going anywhere. We've been here for thousands of years. There's 10 species of animals on Earth that do this too, just by the way, everybody. And but about the bathroom, am I entitled to it? I know that I'm a woman. Should they have built another one to necessitate building this room? people would have to have the level of comfortability within themselves that I do. Not everyone possesses this much self-feminine power. It doesn't happen. Not in this patriarchal system of which we've been living for so long.
Ooh,
Okay.
Oh, girl, let me tell you something. I don't even know what type of commentary to have. Let me just say this specifically about Tish and Alexis dynamics. I think that both of these people, I think that this is one of those scenarios where two very strong fixed personalities have vibrated into proximity of one another. Tish is a matter of a fact lesbian woman. You're not going to change my mind. Move me off my square. And Alexis is a white privileged trans woman who definitely is like, bitch, you are definitely not going to move me off my square. I'm here. I'm queer. Deal with it. And the both of them have been attempting to get each other to eat crow as a result of having two different lived experiences. So it's something about the way they both are showing up in this issue gives me that they both have a bit of a troll in them, and they have trolled each other into this massive controversy now that is going viral. Now, what's interesting about Tish's talking points around, it's a man, it's a man, it's a man, Alexis is a man, this is a man with a big pain, a big pain, a big pain, man. Is that, Alexis herself, not Alexis herself, but, Tish herself, like Alexis is, because the reason why I said earlier that Alexis is transitioning late in life was to prepare y'all, because a lot of y'all are going to be like, Alexis looks bricky. Typically, when you get started earlier on in your transition with hormonal therapy, etc., it will combat a lot of the development of masculine traits, whether that be your jawline, whether that be the way that your fat distributes itself throughout the body, whether it be your voice, whether it be blocking puberty altogether, stopping, hair, etc. So I knew when y'all saw her, y'all gonna be like, girl, Alexis looks very clockable. And, when we have this discussion with biological women, we always say that, transphobia doesn't just affect trans people, it affects biological women as well, like Jess Hilarious, who is always misgendered. There have been men that have come on to her because they literally thought she was a trans woman, and people are always kind of gagging her about her perceivable masculine behavior and or what they believe to be masculine physical features. But here it is, Tish is a biological woman, and people would say that, hell, she's clockable as well. She's a very clocky female. She could easily be mistaken as a trans woman. She looks like she's transitioning herself. And the reason why a lot of us bring this up is because we be literally trying to bridge the gap between biological women and trans women by saying, look, trying to uphold these hierarchies and these pretty privileges and these gender constructs is not really helping either side out at all. And we just need to stop it, okay? Now, I'm really trying not, I promised myself that I wouldn't be shady in this commentary because, I really want to gag both Alexis and Tish. But, I'm going to keep it very professional tonight. But I'm in a very gaggy mood tonight, girl. But, I thought this was, look, baby, I told y'all, for every feature on a trans woman, you can find them same features on a biological woman. You can find them same features, girl, for, baby, I was talking about the broad shoulders, baby. You can find the broad shoulders on the bottom, but baby, the big feet, baby, you can find big feet, baby, strong ass face. You can find strong face on, I mean, for every feature, for every visual external feature on a trans woman, you can find a biological copy of those same features. We can. And that's why these arguments don't make no motherfucking sense. Now, it goes on because these issues have been addressed on both the black and white side. But before we get there, we want to get into Hope Giselle, who also did a quick reel addressing this controversy with Tish and Alexis. So check this out.
Men, grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room. And that's why I'm getting kicked out.
First of all, let's stop playing dumb about this situation. Because what happened at that Gold's Gym was not about discomfort or safety. It was about ego and entitlement and how some folks use their queerness as a cover for their own bigotry. I know y'all don't understand, so I'm going to be real slow with this one. Tish stood in that locker room and decided that because a trans woman didn't fit her idea of what femininity was supposed to look like, that she had the right to humiliate that girl publicly. And then she got her ass online and doubled down and called it honesty instead of what it really was, which was trans misogyny in a fresh ass outfit. And I know that some of y'all are going to say, well, she's a black lesbian. She can't be transmisic. Yes, the hell she can. Yes, the hell she is. And yes, the hell she was on that day. And while we are here, this isn't her first offense. This is a pattern. This girl has been spotted in the comments of trans men's pages doing the same slick, passive-aggressive ass bullshit. She's testing the waters to see how much hate she can get away with spewing before she becomes the next voice of reason for people who don't want trans people to exist at all. And that's
Wow. So Tish is escalating the issue and putting 20 on 10, honey, acting like, you know, oh, she's just been running into this intimately in her life, but she's also been a troll to the trans community, girl, that unclocked her social media child. And she's been harassing and tearing down trans people simply because of their transness all over social media. My God, today.
having an opinion that is marketing for bigotry and engagement, but y'all gonna live for that. But I also want to talk about the rest of y'all, because the part that pissed me off the most wasn't even Tish. It was the comment section and the way that some of y'all, queer folks included, turned this into a fashion critique instead of a fight for dignity, saying, well, she didn't look feminine enough, or I can see why Tish was uncomfortable, and oh, I guess like if that's what we call in trans, I can understand why she feels that way. That is not discourse. That is you siding with your oppressor because you think that proximity to probability is going to save you. And spoiler alert, bitch, it's not going to. Trans women don't owe you femininity. We don't owe you softness or sex appeal or silence. Some of us are femme, some of us are masc, and some of us are neither. And all of us are valid. In the same way that cis women don't have a full beat or need to have one, or a body con dress to be taken seriously, trans women don't need to pass your gender test to be treated like human beings. And for my community specifically, we've got to stop auditioning people who have already told us that they don't respect us. If your liberation depends on stepping over the most marginalized people next to you, that ain't liberation, bitch. It's assimilation. Because once they are done dragging trans women, they are coming for queer women, and then they're coming for all women. So if you don't fall in line, just understand that that's how the cycle works every single time.
And that's already happening because this current regime went forth and attacked the most vulnerable in our community, which was trans people, overturning this resource, overturning this protective legislation, and now that same regime is now considering overturning marital privilege for same gender loving people, because this is the trickle up effect. They always start with the most vulnerable, just like they're now rounding up the quote unquote illegal Latino immigrants, and now there are Black people born and raised homegrown Black folk being slammed on their faces, being dragged into FEMA camps and shit and shipped out to various countries. They always groom you to support your own oppression by getting you to participate in them gagging and helping to further disenfranchise communities who you believe are beneath you. They always start there so that it can't be said that the blood is simply on their hands, because we also asked for this by participating openly in oppressing other people. And this is why particularly marginalized people across the board have to be very clear about our politics, because it's all tethered together. All of it is. Now, what's funny about the whole conversation around passing privilege, right, is the reason why we have to tear down passability. We have to strike that down. We have to destroy it, is so that women like Tish herself can have a chance in this society. Upholding passing privilege also creates issues for biological women like Tish, I should say, to be able to show up like this. One issue is connected to the other. Now, the question is, when we talk about our expectations of a woman, what do we imagine? Because most people in the general public do not imagine Tish as a representation of femininity. This is not what they imagine. A buzz cut, biceps, hair pulled back up away from the face, and chiseled features. Most people's expectations are Marilyn Monroe, Barbie, Beyonce, etc. So if biological women don't have to show up that way, they don't have to assimilate to the girly culture, then that also means that trans women have to be able to have the same flexibility and mobility in their own gender expression, whatever that is. Because to Hope's point, some of the girls are very sporty, some of the girls are athletic, some of the girls are tom girls, some of the girls are femme. It's diverse. Gender identity is very different from gender expression. Now, this issue is divided, though, because there are some transgender women who feel like, girl, the girls should be working on their passability. And then there are other girls who believe that passability should not be a thing. So check out conversations going on amongst the white trans and white non-binary community. This is an excerpt from Jubilee.
6 years ago, when I was transitioned.
Now, what they're talking about in this part of the conversation is rather trans women should be allowed to use the female's restroom. And this is a trans woman who's going to speak about how she moves around that.
Almost 8 years ago, but 6 years ago, it was never an issue for me to use the women's room. Girls would literally drag me in there with them and say, girl, you need to be in our bathroom. And I was like, I felt uncomfortable back then. I don't pass. I know I don't pass. So that's a me problem. And I'm not going to turn my fear of being attacked in the men's room into a woman's problem. It's still a me problem. So I need to work on myself. And it sucks. Does it suck? Yes, it sucks. I don't pass. I know I don't pass. But I still respect women enough. And some trans people aren't capable of handling themselves against a man, but I am confident in my ability to do that. And not everybody can, I get that. But it's just now, 6 years ago, I used to use the women's room. Now I don't, because women have spoke out. They've come out and said, we're not comfortable. There's too many self-ID'd people out there just taking advantage. And I choose to use the men's room to protect them.
I can definitely actually almost empathize with a lot of trans women and their experience in the bathroom and a lot of the turmoil with going in and, especially with passability. But the layer that I feel like in the conversation that's missing here is actually trans men. And also,
Sonny says, even if passing is demanded, what the fuck do you want people to do in the meantime? Become a hermit until they are less clockable? That's a whole nother nuanced conversation, right, Sonny? Because people act like passing is an easy thing. First of all, you have to be able to afford passing. And then, depending on the way your physiological makeup is, you may not be able to pass much, even with all of the resources there is to pass. It's easier, I think, for biological women to transition to male than it is for males to transition aesthetically to female, just because of how rigid the construct around femininity and femme presenting is. So yeah, not all trans people can afford to transition, for one. And there are trans girls who have gotten all of the body surgery. They got the tits, they got the ass, etc. And they would still be argued to be clockable. So the age-old question is, what the fuck do we want people to do? I'm gonna tell y'all what I want people to do, but
fact that I
we'll
was
get there.
born biologically female, and a lot of the things that trans women experience of violence in the bathroom is what I experienced as a child. So the reason why my education here is not necessarily to create an idea that I need to conform to Eurocentric standards. Myself, I'm a 6 foot tall trans man, size 13 shoe, so I don't fit into the Eurocentric standards of what a woman is, and I never did as a child. I was, bullied relentlessly for this and isolated from many spaces. So this discussion about trans women being in the restroom also affects biological women, because guess what? Biological women come in all shapes and sizes. There are, a lot of lesbian women that deal with this issue that I've related with and empathize, because we both get pulled out of the restroom and thrown, and guys try to beat us up because we're in a restroom with women. And then on top of it, to add that layer that it's not even being discussed in any mainstream, that this is just completely wiped out, and that you're standing up for women, but you're not standing up for women children. You're not standing up for biological females that are children. You're only standing up for what really affects you. And it's kind of sad that the idea that passability is you need to work on your transition. A lot of folks, especially in our community, have no access to finances, resources, jobs, to even get their foot in the door, to get access to hormones. So you're putting all of these barriers just for them to be able to go to the restroom, which is a natural thing that we all have to do. So what do I need to do? Piss outside? Because that's how I was treated my entire childhood.
I just feel like when this whole topic.
Okay, now, as I like to call her, Blair Bitch is going to speak about, she's on the side that trans individuals need to work on their passability in order to accommodate and comfort biological folk.
Say them, because I do understand both sides. I didn't, I'm almost a decade into my transition, which means I was one time a year in, 6 months in, 2 months in. So I understand that. But I also knew at the very beginning of my transition that if I'm not at a place physically where I'm not making people feel uncomfortable, or I'm making people uncomfortable, then that's on me. That's my responsibility to make sure that I'm going places a certain way to make sure that they're comfortable.
Because it's for your safety also too, right?
Well,
Would you also say that you're safe?
Well,
your safety
I know that
plays a part.
You seem to be looking at through the lens of always trans being the priority. I'm looking at through the lens of women being the priority here. There's plenty of situations.
Why? I just want to know
because it's them who would fall.
No, you're actually looking at because if it's about women, then that's encompassing of trans women, because hello? Now you're talking about accommodating females. But when you're talking about accommodating women, then you are really nuancing the palette here, because once again, if we're talking about clockability, right? What happens to biological women who are built naturally like Tish? What is Tish as a biological woman supposed to do if she was to enter into a woman's space and someone says, oh my God, no, because of her physical features, she's probably a trans woman. I'm demanding proof. Is Tish supposed to yank down her panties to prove that she indeed is a fucking biological woman? Is she not allowed to have biceps? Is she not allowed to exist in her flesh? She's not in control of the way her body is built. She's not in control of what her DNA presents. This can get really, 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 really ugly for the biological woman's community. Because to that point, baby, like, not all biological women are even given femme presenting themselves. Biological women, there are plenty of biological women who have A cups, they have a boy's chest, deep voices, they have quote unquote masculine physical features. There are biological women who have all of the so-called body, but are very masculine presenting. What are they supposed to do if their gender expression doesn't meet the gender expectation in a woman's space? It's like the way that the general public is trying to solve this issue just leads to like more issues. Because if the solution is police more people, police them down to the ground, we're kind of only really sustaining what the problem is for both biological and trans people. And we're just eating our own tails, ultimately. And we're upholding the same system that's actually capitalizing off of this expectation of femininity, which is why the cosmetic and beauty industry is billions and trillions of consumer dollars richer today. Because they're programming the shit out of everyone, and they are indirectly pressuring people to assimilate in ways that are not natural for them, that are not comfortable for them. This is not their idea of femininity. This is not their idea of a woman. And biological women run into this issue all day, every day. When we talk about pretty privilege, colorism, anti-Blackness, capitalism and beauty. It's actually interesting to me that through this whole trans issue in society, we actually have an opportunity to really tear it all down and free every fucking body, including the people who don't even know that they're in prison. Because a big part of this issue is that you just have large chunks of the dominant society who are just ignorant. This has been the only reality that they know. And they actually think they're fighting for their freedom by running queer people back into the shadows when they're actually sustaining their own chains. It's fascinating to me to see the way dominant society is like working this fucking issue.
To not actual trans women, as I said, but people posing as trans women. People who
But
are
trans women are also victims of that as well.
I'm sorry. I would love it if
And what's interesting about passability is the fact that, so this is such a gutter ass issue, because trans women really mostly have to fucking strive to be passing for the sake of safety. Because if they don't pass, they're considered freaks, and looking like a freak can literally endanger your life in this ignorant ass system. But the irony is that biological women who assimilate become more endangered their own selves. All this being subjected to sexual harassment and misogyny, etc. It's not the solution. Assimilating isn't the solution. Passing isn't the solution, because all of that is just a play on the system that you're ultimately working for. Thinking that you're fucking liberating yourself.
the two of you have said your piece, and I would love to hear.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, I just
Just
want to
talk.
make this
Nobody
point.
else is
I just
talking.
want to make this point as well. But trans women also experience violence and also need
No
that
doubt.
protection. And so that's the
No
thing.
doubt.
Like, it should be an even playing field. I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I'm saying is I would like to challenge you to expand to make sure you're being inclusive of both sides or whatever, because we have to have these important conversations between cis women and trans women.
I mean,
and I'm just gonna say, and I'm not gonna just say cis women. I'm gonna say women, biological women. I want to make it inclusive of everyone.
I think the middle ground, though, is, and I feel like I'm not coming at this from an extreme place. I feel like an extreme place would be like no trans women in the bathroom ever. That's the extreme position. I'm saying work on your transition, take it as your responsibility, and be respectful. And that's the middle.
Yeah, but if you're going to bring up statistics, bring up the statistics. Those statistics are not around trans women or around cis hetero men, not trans women. There hardly is even any data around trans women being the leading assailants of sexual assault against biological women. The data is just not there. So conflating two separate issues, because you're literally creating one issue in order to justify a bigotry while actually not dealing with the actual issue, which is cis hetero men perpetuating sexual violence against biological and trans women and trans persons. That's the actual issue. And I'm glad that you ran me right into that. Ashiera, if I mispronounced your name, my bad, because that's what I've been saying for years now. Is the real issue is that it's unfortunate. And I was just talking to one of my trans sisters today. I said, I feel so bad that y'all's community is in this versus match with bio women, because trans women are basically getting the residual attention that females have towards patriarchy. And trans women just become the punching bag and the emotional dumpster for the bio community and their issues with men, not with trans women. But because trans women are close based upon proximity and identity, it's easier to punch the fuck down on the trans community than it is to actually deal with the root of the issue, which is woman's issue with men. And those same men that women rightfully so should be afraid of, based upon all of the data that exists regarding sexism and sex trafficking and femicide and transphobia and transfixia, etc. Those are the same niggas that the trans girls are afraid of too. Those are the same niggas that are unaliving the trans girls too. This attack. Can y'all hear me? My shit is blinking out again. Can y'all hear me? Give me a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me. I said give me a 1. I continue to comment. Okay. All right. Now, let me muddy the waters a little bit more, because shit about to get sticky. It's blinking out again. Here we go with this shit. It's always after midnight, girl. It's always after midnight, honey, that we start having these flare-ups, honey. This is when the poltergeist activity begins. I cannot take it. Hold on, because this is a mess. Okay, we're back. So what's interesting to me also is, like, because women's community, female community, is not actually addressing the actual issue, which is men, not trans women. It makes the arguments around, I'm a woman, I don't want to exist in men's spaces. I'm a woman, I don't want men in my spaces. I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. But we know that that's also not true. Because these same women that will argue this whole thing that they're all of a sudden now afraid of men just to justify transphobia and transfixia are the same women that have no problem being hired by a man, renting from a man, living in neighborhoods where men reside, working in workspaces with men, marrying men, fucking men, having male clients. Like, it's not honest. It's not honest. Trans women are literally inheriting all of the issues that females have with men. But that energy doesn't get directed there. And it's bizarre to me. That's the problem. They don't believe trans women are women. Right. And so let's deal with that, because that's interesting to me too, right? Because there's at least a scientific basis for transgenderism. It's called body dysmorphia. And it's interesting how we never think about these attacks on trans people as an attack on people with mental illnesses. Body dysmorphia is a real thing. That's typically how trans women begin to get into the resources that they need to transition or to move forward in their lives, is through a clinical diagnosis. So the fact that that this society is doing the most when it comes to trans people, when we don't act like this toward people with autism, we don't act like this toward people with Down syndrome, we don't act like this toward people who can fall under any of these psychological conditions, but yet we make the exception for the violence and the othering because people identify as trans, when even the scientific and psychological community acknowledge transgenderism and have various forms of treatments as it relates to the underlying body dysmorphia that they're diagnosed with. It's nuts. So you don't consider trans women to be a woman because they don't have a pussy, or they don't have ovaries, or they don't have the proper chromosomes, or okay, cool. You still met at a brick wall because a lot of these people have body dysmorphia. So it's just a search for a justification to mistreat trans folk, instead of really just getting over yourself and really asking, what the fuck really is your issue? There also is a such thing as co-ed bathrooms, co-ed workspaces. We literally live in a co-ed society. And what I don't understand is, if we're talking about safety and we're talking about men who do very bad things, then you would know that a symbol on a bathroom door has never stopped a rapist from raping anyone. Locks on a door have never stopped a thief. A home surveillance system has never stopped a burglar. You having a license to carry has never kept a rapist from raping. So this idea that a symbol on a door that is not locked at that because it's in a communal and general space is keeping someone from afflicting harm on you that desires to afflict harm on you is wild. And then to make the people who are rapists synonymous with an entire fucking group, aka trans folk, is even more offensive. Because if we're talking about safety, there's still a conversation that can rightfully so be had around safety without making that synonymous to trans people in their gender assigned spaces. If we're talking about perverts, if we're talking about sexually deviant people, if we're talking about harmful people, that conversation can be had. The problem is when y'all make that conversation synonymous with trans people exclusively. Because that's always the resistance is, I'm afraid for my safety. But like someone on T.S. Madison's panel said, none of these women were more threatened by the lesbian woman who actually is attracted to women in a woman's space where women get naked and change their clothes. And there are women in that space, aka lesbian women. No conversations around threats of violence, perceivable danger, when the lesbian is more inclined to be attracted to you than the trans woman is. But that's also a beautiful thing, right? Because the lesbian woman is able to be attracted to women and also act accordingly in that same locker room, because Tish has had no incidents of being a perpetrator of a crime against a woman, even though she's attracted to women and she exists in women's spaces, just like a trans woman. Even if a trans woman was attracted to females, even if the trans woman was bisexual, pansexual, etc., making the conversation around safety synonymous with trans people being perpetrators just really goes to show you how ignorant and how bigoted the dominant society really is. No, pansexual and bisexuals are not the same. Bisexuals are attracted exclusively to sex, female and male, while pansexual people have the capacity to transcend sex and also date trans, non-binary folk. Bisexual people aren't per se attracted to trans women and trans men. Pansexual people do. They can be attracted to anybody on the spectrum, from the extreme polar opposites to everything in the middle. They're definitely, what's going on, Deshaun? They're definitely ignorant, but the thing is that it's the idea that the new generation of gay people, not at all of them are going against trans, and I don't know why, because queer people can be just as misogynistic and uphold patriarchy, internalized misogyny, being male identified, being very male centered themselves. Lesbians can have internalized misogyny. Gay men can have internalized misogyny. It's a mess. This social indoctrination that got us all divided becomes as clear and as obvious as day when it comes to talking about this particular issue here. It really goes to show you just how fucked up everybody is and how everybody is contributing to the fuckery and the foolishness. Conscious, do you think it's because the new generation of gay people, not all of them are rare by heterosexual? I don't reword that again, Deshaun. because most reasonable people find the trans movement as it is now to be nauseating, and many of them are violent, uneducated, in an echo chamber, vicious and vindictive. It happens secularly, even though trans women start the liberation movement back in the day, trans folks face ostracization. Yeah, they have. Well, look, we all inherited this system, right? This is why on this platform I always be encouraging y'all, like, do your work. Do not accept your surface self, because we all came into this system and we all were raised in part by the culture, by religion. So we all have these internalized mechanisms in us. And most of the time they are in our unconscious. We don't even have any idea half the time when we are being misogynistic, because it's that second nature to us. We have no idea a lot of times when we're being sexist, when we are actually applying double standards, because it's so second nature to how we show up, because that's the world that we live in and how we've all been indoctrinated. So we all have a sworn duty to decolonize our minds. And look, you never really get rid of this shit totally. Like, it's literally, you spend the rest of your life undoing all this shit, because the system is not giving up. The system is keeping the socialization and the programming in rotation. And so you're literally fighting against the machine by attempting to be lucid and attempting to be woke. It's very easy to revert back to unconscious, indoctrinated behavior, because everything around you supports it. Everything around you is in alignment with that programming. Sunny says it's also because social norms are secular. This pattern is easy to follow. Every time we progress as a society, within 7 years, we begin spouting uber conservative. I'm gonna drop the link for some of y'all who want to come up. And we ain't gonna be here all night. So if y'all coming, honey, y'all gonna have to hit it. Chill. When you look at the trans movement, billions were pumped into by a few random billionaires around 10 to 15 years ago. It isn't a grassroots issue. It's from the top down issue. It was pushed. Terrence says, find the statistics. Where are the fake trans people who are preying on women? Where are they? It's a made-up issue. People so tethered into their fears that you literally create the boogeyman, girl. Like, the boogeyman doesn't exist, baby. You're being trolled. Okay? You're being trolled by the powers that be. You're being trolled. And you're just taking the bait. Taking the motherfucking bait. Most trans women would say, I'm not trying to be a woman. I know I'm different. I think all trans women know they are very different from bio women, but the agenda is filling them with delusions. Look, female is sex and science, chemical hormones and chromosomes, and man and woman are the constructs. Hi, Sonny.
Hey, love. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. You look gorgeous as always. You know, I'm living for this look.
Thank you, baby. Just trying to make, everybody who is already 40 or headed toward 40 very proud. I plan on being the face of 40, that we bad as fuck. The fuck. Bad as fuck.
I mean, what else could you be? You've been bad at every other age. Why would you change at 40?
Stop making me blush up, Sonny. So sound off, because you also are a same gender loving woman. So were you particularly were you shocked to see a member of our community like Tish, who was also a same gender loving woman, being so othering?
Unfortunately, no. I wasn't shocked, because I have seen that pattern over the years. And that's what I meant by that comment saying that, we have cyclical norms. The reason I say that is because, and it doesn't just affect the heterosexual community. It is a societal thing that we go through in different eras. But I'm not surprised because even, like in my early 20s, the OGs of that era had a lot of very heteronormative ways of thinking and a lot of rules that they had in place about what it was to be gay or to be lesbian, how you had to exist in that. I mean, I can still remember conversations that, some of my older heads would have around me about how they felt about their own children, growing up and potentially being gay. And these are a bunch of lesbian women, gay men having conversations angrily, just thinking about the concept of their kids possibly being gay when they grew up. And it was fascinating to me, to see that happen. But as far as the cyclical comment goes, what I meant by that is that if we really look at history, all things have a pattern. And it also applies to this topic because there was a time when this was not an issue like it is now. And I don't just mean like back in 2008 or 2013, like when they passed legislation to make it legal for same-sex marriage. No, I'm talking about, let's go back to the 1920s, right? In the 20s, it wasn't like everybody was walking around having pride marches and stuff, but I know for a fact from my elders telling me that while it wasn't anything people talked about, it was well known that these men were gay, that those women were gay, that they were couples, they lived together long term, and nobody ever put a title on it or said what it was, but it wasn't a problem either. They weren't shunned. And then directly behind that early 1920s era, in the 30s came a very conservative mindset about that. And now it became taboo, hush, hush. People pushed back against it. It was problematic. But then we made it to the 40s. The 40s came, and that era of, you think of like the Harlem Renaissance. That was a very open era. People were very relaxed. Gay couples, lesbian couples was the norm. There was even vaudeville shows where women came, basically doing, what is it? What do they call it when the women do drag?
A drag king.
Drag king. I could not think. Yeah, a drag king. Like they would literally have those type of shows. It was common for women to dress as men and do entire performances that way, and they were openly lesbian. You can look into it. It's a thing. So that went on during the 40s. Everybody was more relaxed, and once again, by the 50s, stuff started being more conservative. That's when they started pushing the whole, stay-at-home wife, and the magazines would come out, and this is how a woman maintains a home. And, when you get up early in the morning and you put on your apron, make sure that you have this apron on with this type of dress, and greet your husband at the door on the way out, and make sure you greet him again on the way in. And it was just over and over and over again. We keep seeing that pattern, and I can keep on going all the way up till we do it again in the 70s, the flower power era, hippies. Now, once again, sexuality was relaxed. People weren't judging it. Like, we literally keep doing this shit back to back in the same exact way that we have repeated it before. Even my grandmother, God rest her, would always say, she was like, girl, everybody's gay. And I was like, what the hell do you mean by that? And she's like, I just mean everyone has the ability to love whoever is pulling at their heart. And this is a woman that had 10 children, was only with my grandfather when he passed. They were in their 50s when he passed. She just recently passed at almost 100 years old, and she never got married again. So this is not some woman that is in the community, but she was very much aware. And she was like, oh, I just think it's weird that people are being so uptight about this. Like, this ain't new. There's nothing new under the sun. That she would always say that. And I see what she's talking about more and more every day.
Yeah. So Ashira 7 says, but trans is not a sexual orientation, but many gays are being told that they could be trapped in the wrong body. The trans movement could be said to be anti-gay. No. I mean, it could be said, but that would be a stretch. But the reality is that we wouldn't even have this issue at all if the binary had never been created to begin with. Everything else is just a response to the creation of the binary system. There are plenty of societies and cultures that existed outside of American culture and that
Exactly.
exists today that knew better than to exclusively build around a binary system and actually allow the spectrum to be the truth, allow the spectrum of gender and orientation to be the truth. And they were able to avoid these types of hangups in their cultures. People, didn't have to succumb to the pressure to mutilate their bodies just to assimilate, because there was enough honor and autonomy and creativity and metaphysical significance to allow people to have a strong sense of self and to get in where they could fit in at, without also making being trans or being other rooted in also a lot of physicality. Like in the West, we have a strong fixation on trans is synonymous to physicality. But if you look at a lot of other cultures, being other also was about something spiritual. It was about something bigger than yourself. It was beyond the physical, because the basis was that this was a soul and soulier experience. That this was an experience of consciousness more so than it was an experience of body. But because we're so rigid and masculine in the way that we think in the West, we have all of these people, unfortunately, who are going to extreme ends, to change their bodies when that wasn't really the sum total of what it really meant to be trans or what it meant to be non-binary. It was more rooted in the understanding that this was an expression of consciousness and an experience of spirit. What do you think about that, Sonny?
I agree with you 100%. In so many cultures, they have their own word for it, but the translation almost universally is two-spirited.
Yeah.
And that is their way of expressing exactly what you just explained. And I feel like that was an early understanding that the human existence is fluid, that we are all our own unique blending of masculine and feminine, yin and yang. And I think any deviation from that is what causes this type of problem. And honestly, I could take Ashira's point, and even if let's say I agree with it. I agree with it in that, yeah, there may be an agenda, but to me, that agenda is coming from the church. It is coming from Western Christianity specifically, but Western indoctrination into religion. If there is a so-called agenda to make gay people identify as trans in order for the church to accept the relationship there. And we could argue that maybe that's why it's so many undercovers in the church that are madly in love with trans women, because in their mind, it is somehow making a sense to their God that of why they're attracted to this person. So if we're going to go off that cliff of what Ashira is suggesting, I 100% know without a shadow of a doubt, if that were to be true, it is an indoctrination and an agenda that is being put out by the church itself. But I completely disagree with it. I don't think it's an agenda. I do believe that there are just people that naturally exist in a space that cannot be defined one way or the other. And I think the more that you are in touch with yourself and with your creator, the more you find peace in that and the more you identify in that way. And when I say identify, I don't necessarily mean identify as trans. I just mean identify and find peace in knowing that you are not just one rigid thing. And I find beauty in that. I don't understand what the real confusion is. I think it's less confusion and more anger and potentially envy for seeing people that are existing in their authentic self in a way that you do not feel allowed to do, that you're afraid to do, that you have been boxed in from doing, or that you're concerned that society will not accept you doing. Because it does not make sense in any other format for people to have such strong feelings about the existence of the trans community in general, especially transgender women outside of that. But I will say this, I have always felt like the reason that the smoke is so much for trans women compared to trans men, I truly do believe it's deeply rooted in misogyny, but not in the way people think. I think people are offended that anyone born into the privilege of maleness would abandon it to exist in the femininity that they are and feel within them. I think people are offended by that because they see it as a downgrade, which to me further shows what society really thinks of women and what women think of themselves. Because how can you see that as something inferior, that they're choosing to be something inferior if you don't see women as inferior?
You would think that it would actually be seen as a compliment by women's community.
You would think so. But I feel like that also shows the training and the, once again, indoctrination into misogyny that women have. Because to me, that line of thinking is very much congruent with the way men think. I 100% believe that they're offended by it because they could never imagine wanting to be a woman, because they do see women as something inferior, something to be pitied and protected.
Lipsky, come up here, hit the link so we can talk. It's like, this is, the conversation is like, it requires too much to communicate from the chat. Come up, hit the link, get in the conversation. I would love to hear from you. So look at what Star says. Lady, get off them drugs. Passable trans women don't get clocked like that, man. But here's the gag, right, about Alexis not having passing privilege. And even the trans women on T.S. Madison's panel tonight agreed that Alexis did not have passing privilege, but that was also okay. Because guess what, y'all? There are bodybuilding women who look just like Alexis.
Come on.
There are bodybuilding women. Almost every bodybuilding woman looks like, and hell,
can we stop acting like regular women that don't do bodybuilding?
Tish herself almost looks like one of them damn
come on
as women.
Come on.
Herself. So this idea of, once again, like what we keep running back into is like this idea and expectation of femininity. What really is that? Not all, like, it's almost like we don't want to accept that what we think of is literally something out of our imagination. Like, there is no universalism to the way that anybody looks. Not one woman, not one man, not one male, not one female. Like, somebody decided to take a aesthetic and sensationalize that aesthetic and create a blanketed expectation over all other people. And now we're all left to fit into these molds that aren't really real. And I just want to let people know it's okay to let it go. It's okay to accept that there is no one visual, there's no one expression of femininity, there's no one expression of masculinity. It just does not exist, because if it did, it would naturally look the way that it does.
Okay. And you know it's true, because children under the age of 1, for real, unless you dress them a certain way, it is impossible to know what is a newborn baby girl and a baby boy. Okay, they are just a little bundle of goo at that age. Like, that, to me, the way you start off is a very good explanation and example of how small the difference is between the two. But I really would love to know what Stara thinks about women, bio women, or as I'm sure others would like to say, instead of saying bio or cis, real women. What do you feel about real women that are getting clocked on a regular basis, that are not bodybuilders?
I got them on the screen. These are real women, real so-called real women, right? Clockable. These are bodybuilding women.
Like, come on, it's crazy to me, and not just bodybuilders.
Exactly. So to gag Alexis is to gag these biological women who have an even stronger build than she does. And guess what? These biological women are not snatching down their panties to prove to you that they deserve to take a piss in the women's restroom.
Okay.
They're not going out of their way just because your feeble mind can't conceive of them.
Yeah, and that's why I know it's just a complete, people are just not being truthful in what their real issue is because, like Ashira is saying, of course, women are able to build muscle. They all look like women also. Really? They do? Like this, you would see this woman in the bathroom with you and be like, that's a real woman. You wouldn't want her to be verified.
They know damn well.
Come, stop it. Like that
Martin
it's
Scola
just disingenuous.
In bathroom that you would say, oh, this is just a muscled female.
And this is the extreme of the example. I'm talking about your homegirl, your next door neighbor being clocked. That does not work out. Okay, a thick girl, big old in the front and the back.
Not all women have periods either. And then y'all forget that intersex people exist. Not all people are XY, XX either. Even and this is all of the universe is doing. The universe made sure that we had to humble ourselves when it came to the binary by introducing intersex people into the mix. To say, look, y'all really don't know what the fuck is going on here. So keep this shit cute. Keep this shit open-minded. Keep it real cute. Because the universe always throws us a curveball every time we think we understand the way shit actually works. Intersex people exist. Literally, your God, your spirit, the universe creates intersex people the way that it creates all other types of damn people. It creates autistic people. It creates Down syndrome people. It creates all variations of damn people. And we're sitting here as little feeble single-celled organisms speaking about the grandiosity of the universe in a way that does not really honor its grandiosity, because these social constructs are even obliterated by science itself, which is why when we talk about, whether we're talking about gender or orientation, we can always go out into Mother Nature, right, and talk about how other mammals exist also in sexuality, how they exist in gender. We can talk about how various fish and plants, etc., all show up uniquely. Transgenderism, homosexuality, same-gender lovingness, non-binary are not exclusive human creations. They exist in the natural world.
It just does. It just does. And if we're going to go by standards like having a period, then I encourage Star to create your own database. Everybody start collecting your pads and send them in so Star can keep a running roster of who's actually a woman. Because it's just, what marker are you using? Like, what is it that you think you can verify on everyone? Because even making you drop your drawers and show what you're working with will not clock every transgender woman. There are some that are absolutely full sex change. So now what do you do? Now that's when you need to see their pads to be sure that they're having monthlies. Like, it's just wild to me.
These are biological women on the screen here. Females. They have ovaries.
And by the way, these women, when you exercise this much, odds are they would not have any pads to send you because their cycles are known to stop from this level of exercise and fitness. It is normal. And when they stop exercising, which most of them do if they want to have children, that's when it comes back again.
Delusional, because if that's the response to do, so does non-passing trans women then. So what's the problem? If that's you're proving our point. Like, if since that's the case, what is actually the problem then? Biological women don't have passing privilege, just like some trans women don't have passing privilege, because there is no such thing as passing any fucking way. All that actually is true is what it actually is. That's the only truth that there actually is what the fuck it is. So what is passing and privilege, and then what do we say to biological women who show up outside of the commercialized expectations of feminine, just like these women do? Look at a lot of athletic biological women who take on a more masculine presentation. A perfect example of that is a Brittany Reiner. Is it Brittany? Am I saying her name right?
Griner.
Now, is a Brittany a trans man or just a same gender loving woman?
She's the same gender loving woman.
Same gender loving woman. Same gender loving woman. What do you say to Brittany?
Yeah, it's just wild. And Lemsky, I'm curious what you mean by you agree with CTV up until the point of saying that trans exists in nature. It absolutely does. It's a known fact, especially in species that are potentially going to become extinct. It is known for them to mutate themselves into another gender in order to continue the lineage of that particular species. It happens. Transition happens in nature as well. Same sex copulation also occurs in nature. It's a fact. It's not CTV's feelings. He's not just talking. He's speaking to scientific fact.
Do we got to pull that up too?
I totally agree with you guys. Hello, how's everybody doing? Because the first known transsexual was 7,000 BCE, back in the Bronze Age. I'm like, what are we talking about? They acting like this is a new concept, and it's not. And correct me if I'm wrong, right? All of these stereotypes and all of these tropes lead people to get the hell sued, because we're about to see Candace Owens get sued for the same stuff, right? That's a perfectly good case study of what she's doing to Bridget Macron, right? So what are we talking about?
Speak on it. Speak on it, Delicious.
I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, and the hypocrisy of some people, man, it just wows me, because you have female bodybuilders like Linda Murray and Isis Kyle, who have millions and millions of views, and I can tell you what, they ain't women. Right? You telling me 45 million women like view like Linda Murray, who is like a well-known bodybuilder? She used to date Ronnie Coleman. Like, nah, man, nah. We're not gonna play those games. That's lunacy, right? That's complete lunacy. What I don't understand is this. I know there's different subdivisions within inside the culture. I just don't understand why everybody don't band together, because they're trying to eliminate everybody, right? But at the same time, clocking them, at the same time, as you say, but clocking them, undercoverly, right? So I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm like you, Conscious, and you, ma'am. I don't understand what the hang up people have. It's
And
not
here's
like
the issue, right? Here's the issue, because Alexis said it doesn't, and now you know that it does. Transgender fish film changing sex for BBC's Blue Planet 2, and then Limsky says for the second multiplication. No. Let me tell you how intentional the universe was in doing this. If the universe had a fixed perception of gender and sex, what it would have did, instead of giving creatures the ability to transform their sex, is it just would have simply balanced out the ecosystem itself with male and female. It didn't do that. It intentionally fixed itself upon muddying the waters by allowing creatures to spin in and out of their respected sex and or gender. There was a lot of other ways the universe could have just kept it clear by just, once again, appropriating the ratio of female to male fish. It didn't do that. And it did not do that. It intentionally muddied the fucking water, once again, to humble, arrogant ass humans who think they know every fucking thing, who
Okay.
always think they got a cap on fucking reality, and then that's when a paranormal activity has to show up. That's when a supernatural event has to happen, honey. Every time us as a people, just become arrogant and think that we know and we don't. The reality is the same universe that created transgenderism as a whole created trans people. Because once again, the fascinating thing is, at least there is a fucking scientific basis for transgenderism, not only within nature, but literally. It's recognized as body dysmorphia. People are literally being created this way, and it's okay.
It's a
We're
fact.
just trying to figure out why that's not okay for some of y'all. Like y'all, and here's my thing, Todd. It's like we accept everybody. We accept that everybody else is born every kind of way. Like somebody can be born blind, somebody can be born with multiple limbs, somebody can be born without a womb, somebody can be born without a heart, somebody can be born. All these ways in which the universe creates. It creates a broad palette. And yet people get stuck on this idea that trans folk or non-binary folk or transcendent folk exist. Like that, like the question we have to ask ourselves is, who the fuck are we to say that it ain't when it actually is? And then the fact that it actually is and we still say that it ain't, baby, that's a level of narcissism that is beyond comprehension.
Talk about it.
That is a level of delusional narcissism beyond the beyond.
And I usually don't engage with people that are just completely arguing from a place of emotion and not education. But it's so many uneducated comments right now. I need to go ahead and say this, because obviously people are grossly undereducated about genetics and human anatomy. So let's be clear about this. At the time of conception, all humans are conceived as female. A mutation occurs to make you a male. That is not how you originally occur in the womb. When you have that mutation, that is when you become a male in utero. Now, if that mutation does not complete, that's how you become intersex, meaning you are born with both, whether that's both genitalia or having one genitalia with the reproductive system of the other, whatever your intersex level may be, there's multiple, just in case y'all don't know that as well. So that being said, if we know that everyone is conceived as female, you mutate into male, and if the mutation does not complete, you become intersex. What makes you think that it's completely impossible for someone to have had a mutation that was incomplete, that didn't go as far as an intersex person, meaning it did not complete itself in a way where two genders showed up, but the person showed up as a singular gender at birth while simultaneously embodying the gender in which they were not born, i.e., a transgender person? Why do you think that the only mutation that could be incomplete is intersex? Why can't it be incomplete in a way that allows you to be born as a male and 100% feel like a woman, or be born female and feel 100% like a man? To me, I've always felt like transgender was a word that was created to explain some of the margins of intersex. To me, that is the same thing. Just that one is a physical manifestation and the other is an incongruent manifestation with body to spirit. And for those that keep up.
I like how you put that, because we talked about this months ago about how the mind and the body is not interconnected, right? Yes, you can have fixed genders, right? You can have male, you can have female, but the mind is not connected to either one of those. This is why you can have people who are in a male's body and feel like they are a female. And I don't understand why people just don't understand the concept.
Because people are close-minded as fuck, Todd. They're just like, look, right? Stara is saying you're doing too many mental gymnastics. And that's kind of one of the issues with like living in a society that is not educated around sex and gender, because these are whole college level curriculums. Like, these are not new subjects to, I mean, like a new topic to sexologists, etc. And, you know, Stara is probably the same person who finds trigonometry to be exhausting. Yes, unfortunately, everything is not any, mini, miny, mo in society. There is shit that actually forces you to have to fucking think and unpack a issue. If you study quantum physics, you probably also find that to be exhausting. Like, y'all act like y'all lived in this 1, 2, 3 reality, and maybe some of y'all do actually only live within the 1, 2, 3. It's a good thing that experts actually exist and people who come into the world to deal with the harder levels of a subject, the deeper levels of a subject matter, because there's always a deeper and more nuanced degree of any particular subject, including orientation and sex and or gender.
I mean,
Yes, everything in the world is not some fucking hooked on phonics. That's why you got to take your ass to college.
What I don't understand,
That's why you have to go get training for that job. That's why you have to go get certified, because everything does not move within a 1, 2, 3 ABA.
Exactly. And I'm speaking as a woman that's one of her degrees is in microbiology. I know what I'm saying.
I can tell you this. When I got my degree in communications, the first thing they did was break out the gender studies. That was the first thing they did. They gave us a broad account of everybody's perspective. And what I don't understand, if a lot of people believe in science and things like this, why would they not think just the same way animals do evolution? People do evolution as well. The evolutionary change just didn't stop when we became humans. It just didn't stop. It continued, right?
Well, they try to make everything perfect. That's what it is. Because the thing is, if they see something that is not that is against them of what they see, they got to correct the problem. That's the problem that they always had in their mind forever. Like for instance, if a person is intersex, right? That person that is intersex does not have the ability to choose whether it wants to be female or male. The parent actually decides for that intersex person, which is absolutely sad, because what if that person, if you say, oh, it's a girl, what if the intersex person decide, oh, I want to be a boy? You didn't give that person that choice. You know what I mean? That's also part of that too. And then they'll say, oh, it's a freak of nature. So why would you call a baby of a gift a freak of nature? My family been saying that. Like, that is freaking terrible. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something else. Here's the kick part. Why God created the cherubims and the cherubims? That don't make sense. So all the animals are all together with a human head. Let's get deep.
You know, we had the same argument.
Do you know what's easier for us to do is to get the fuck out of people's way. That's actually much easier than trying to put a cap on other people's realities. It's actually easier to just get the fuck out the way. Like I just find that so much easier. Just get the fuck out the way. Like, let me just move over to the left. Like, some of y'all have a problem just moving over to the left. Just get the fuck out the way. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't understand why we're struggling in this society to let other people do them. Because Christians get to do them. Y'all get to believe in a bunch of yabba dabba fucking do and a bunch of non-scientifically proven shit. Y'all believe in talking donkeys, and to Deshaun's point, fucking cherubins and infants with wings and harps and shit, and a big bearded ass man in the sky with oversized sandals on that y'all pray to. I mean, like, people believe in all type of shit. Let's just say that trans people were people who just believed that they were the sex that they feel they are. So what? What the fuck is that actually? How is that harming us? How is that harming you? Because every trans person that I know is a fully functioning trans person who pays their fucking bills and goes to work and has a talent and a skill set and is a bundle of love and pays their fucking taxes and contributes to the economy like anybody else. What is actually the problem? Like, I mean, I wouldn't really give a fuck if it was just a belief. So what? All these fucking religious beliefs y'all have, so the fuck what?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
because
even for gay men, I mean, we believe that we're literally wired to fuck other men, even though there's little scientific basis for that. We believe it though. We adhere to the belief, and they were once calling us delusional and putting us through conversion camps because there was a lack of scientific data to justify that we were simply born this way. Same thing for heterosexuals. There's no scientific basis for your heterosexual. I mean, where there might be some scientific basis, but ultimately, like, what are you really adhering to? Have you ever really thought about it? Right? Have you ever really thought about where this invisible impulse comes, like, that had you attracted to the opposite sex? Like, where does that come from? You know, I used to think about shit like this. Like, where does this shit come from in me that makes me attracted to other men? Like, I didn't ask for it. It just is.
Well, that's because you have, that's your higher self. That's your true self.
No,
You
I
are
know,
naturally
like,
attracted
like,
to.
I know what it is, but but I'm posing that, we all exist in the invisible realm. Even our personalities, there's no scientific basis for who you think you are as a personality, and yet you believe concretely and objectively in the fact that, bitch, like, I am, like, bitch, I'm me. What do you mean? Like, you're convinced that whatever you think is you is you. Like, I always been this way. It's just who I am. It's just my attitude. So, like, we all live in the realm of thought and feeling and are convinced of ourselves based upon our inner experiences. So why do we rate trans people of the same luxury? They're having an inner experience of themselves that is convincing them of what the fuck they are, just like everybody else on the planet has a fucking personality that they're convinced is them, even though there's little scientific basis for that as well. That is just you. But you have decided to accept whatever is telling you that is you as you, and that's fine. Why are we making the exception when it comes to trans and non-binary folk?
It's all about low vibrational energy. It's all about low vibrational energy because of when you're taught when you're a kid of don't do this and don't do that. That generates that energy, and it actually wires into your brain of what you see and what you was taught. And once you see and what you was taught, then you grow up with it. Now the thing is, you might expel everything else, but whatever you was taught in your brain is still stuck into your head. And whatever you see that you're going out in the world in is like, oh my God. But then the thing is, some people will actually be themselves, but then they'll hate on another person that's, that's with you. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. It's kind of like, for instance, like if you're a gay person, you come out, but then you see a trans person and then you beat that trans person down, or you try to shoot them down because she's trans, but you didn't realize about the LGBT because you didn't learn it. Because the thing is, you always grew up in the Bible Belt of everything else, and you grew up in a heterosexual family where they always keep talking about trans people and all this and all the other stuff, and then you're with them because the thing is, because that's how it's rooted. It's all indoctrinated into your head. So everyone is wired that way because of how they grew up. It's like, you know what I mean? And plus, don't forget there's trauma into it too, because they actually add the trauma into it. It's kind of like a nucleus. You know what I mean? Whatever gets attached to it, like the electrons of the electrons that's actually circling around the nucleus and everything else, that's part of that. So whatever trauma that you had that adds on into it and all of that, and sometimes you gotta give that trauma to someone else. So whatever trauma you have, you actually take that trauma to someone else so that you can feel better about yourself. That's how it happens throughout the world. People don't really realize that they have it, but they do. They still can't shake that off instead of tapping into their higher frequency.
Astara, come hit the link and shake the motherfucking table. But here's the thing, Deshaun, I'm gagged at people like at talking points like Limpy talking about what he talking about because y'all do a bunch of unnatural shit. It's just funny to me. Like, obviously, God didn't give man wings. That didn't keep y'all ass from building helicopters and planes and space shuttles and putting y'all asses in the sky. Like if you're really gonna respect the so-called natural world, which also is encompassing of transgenderism and homosexuality, why don't we really uphold that in the literal way? It's feedback in your phone, Deshaun. Like, if we respected that man can't fly, keep your ass on the ground. If God wanted your ass to fly, God would have gave your ass wings. If God wanted you in the fucking sea, he would have gave you the capacity like a fish, and yet we build submarines. Like, we literally like, and this, maybe you know what, this is like, it's actually shocking at how privileged people are, and we don't even realize how privileged we are. And we also don't realize how we are in fact also in principle doing the same shit that we can't accept that other people do, or we act like other people are doing something that we are not doing. Like, if we're going to say that trans people are delusional, I mean, so are the motherfuckers who fly in planes. Get your ass out of the sky, bitch. You ain't a bird. You're not a bird, ho. Get your ass out of the sky, bitch. Get your ass out of the sea, ho. You don't. Why are you on a boat? If God wanted you out there, bitch. If God wanted you in there, if God wanted you at 30,000 feet, girl, you would have had the natural capacity. You would have had fins and a natural breathing and nervous system to support your ass being out there in the motherfucking sea, out there in the goddamn space, out there in the second heavens. Why? How do we accept that we ourselves imagine what we want to imagine and then afford ourselves to live within that reality? And once again, we make the exception to take that away from trans folk. It's just not, like, the math is just not mathing for me.
Well, I can tell you this, Conscious, what the problem is that people, when they are confronted with their moral beliefs, right, and they find out they are wrong, there's three things that they do. They either accept it, don't accept it, or they flight it. Right? They just fight it and flight it and leave it alone. And what's happening is people are having these reckonings with themselves, right? Because what they're finding out is that everything that they've ever been taught culturalistically have been wrong. So therefore, they have to make some type of adjustment. And people cannot make any type of adjustment because then they are then finding out and deeming themselves to be wrong this whole entire time. And unfortunately, people are just not going to admit when they are wrong. So therefore, they just completely disengage, right? We call that an exit response, right? So it's amazing, right? It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So
that's, like, I don't. Kasara says even Conscious makes more effort to present feminine with his bust out wigs. That's the thing. I do not make. Yes, I like to play with feminine and masculine because we all have those energies. But my God, like, who would I be? Because there's some belief system that says that as a man I shouldn't be able to wear a wig. That as a man I shouldn't.
So why did back in the 1700s they were wearing wigs?
They never really think about it, Deshaun, and that's what's the issue with a lot of these, like, ideologies and a lot of these phobias, is that, like, they really ain't thought through. When you really think about them, you realize how they didn't really think this shit through.
Yeah, they were all powdered up in the 1700s. George Washington, his boys, all the military, all their wigs powdered up, all that.
Even going back to the Egyptians in skirts and gladiator sandals and eyeliners and high ponytails.
Yep.
You would be surprised how many people are shocked when they find out that the Spartans were homosexuals. The 300, yes, they were homosexuals. They sure were.
Wait.
And people are like, like, yes, they sure were. Yes.
To tell you. Let me tell you something. Back in 2016, or I think it was 2015, I actually did a research on, if there was homosexual Egyptians, pharaohs and stuff. And they did have Egyptian homosexual pharaohs because the thing is they had a pyramid and it was hidden in the forest, right? And, you know, I wanted to save it, but the thing is, over time, they actually took that shit down. I don't know why they took it down. Because the thing is, that was history right there. There was 2 statues of 2 pharaohs. And there was a pyramid. And they took it down. It was just weird. It was like in 2017, and then they took it down. I'm like, why did they take
Most
that
of the ancient men had harems that were filled with both men and women.
This is true. Even some of the greatest conquerors and kings, for example, I wrote a paper about Chrysocrates and Alexander the Great. You know, they vividly had a relationship in the Hanging Gardens, sure was. And Alexander the Great was very protective of Chrysocrates, very protective of him. And there was a severe age dynamic between them two. We're talking like one person was in their 40s and 50s, the other person was like in their teens. So, like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, hey, people, when you start delving into history, I just wonder how we got here, you know?
I gotta read. They don't want to read.
No, they don't.
They don't
Like,
want to read nothing.
here's another one. The person that wrote the Bible, like King James, is actually a homosexual, but he was a DL homosexual. Because the thing is, I want to know why he's buried beside his man swordsman. Why is he buried beside his wife? His wife is nowhere near his throne, or, you know, his burial site. Nowhere near. He's buried beside his man. Let's talk about it.
I mean, but look at all of this shit. Pre-colonial Africa recognized non-binary identities, though not under the specific term, with examples including third gender and gender non-conforming roles, such as the male assigned Maduko Dako amongst the Lingai people. And I'm going to fuck up all these African names just as a... how do you pronounce this? Azinga? Is the N silent?
Azinga.
The Lingai people are Zinga, a warrior woman who took on a male status in the Dongo Kingdom. Colonialism disrupted these fluid understandings of gender as European societal norms and rigid gender binaries were imposed, leading to the marginalization of diverse gender expressions. Examples of non-binary and gender non-conforming identities in pre-colonial Africa. Lingai people of Uganda. These were effeminate males who were treated as women, could marry men, and held distinct community roles. Numba people of Sudan. Some Nuba groups featured traditional roles for males who lived and dressed as women, sometimes marrying other women and being seen as a third gender category. Igbo people of Nigeria. The Igbo had third gender and transgender roles, with some females taking on male status and marrying women to ensure heirs and navigate social structures. Okay, the tribe of Ghana. Gender was understood as energetic rather than strictly anatomical, allowing for individuals to express a female energy regardless of their assigned birth. So once again, this is not new shit. This is pre-colonial, non-colonized as Africa. This is trans folk, non-binary folk, fluidity, sexual fluidity, gender fluidity. This shit is all a part of the whole landscape. All man is doing is symbolically expressing something that already exists physically elsewhere in the material world. And it also exists materially in humanity, aka intersex people. Humans are literally born with mixed chromosomes, with various types of anatomical makeup and reproductive systems. It happens to us, not just to the fish or the squirrels or the birds either. We created the binary and the construct. It's like we created the highways. Highways ain't natural. Temples ain't natural. We created it with everything else we created in our motherfucking world. This shit is as old as time. Every system has dealt with it. And to be honest, shit, our ancestors dealt with it better than we did. This wasn't an issue.
Okay.
It was just a regular part of life. Our ancestors, unlike the West, were more spiritual. They were more metaphysical. They understood things more so from the inside out rather than the outside in. They accepted the uniqueness of the universe, which is important. They accepted the diversity of spirit, the diversity of the multiverse.
Yeah.
They didn't act arrogant and war against the natural world and pedestalize human intellect. Human intellect instead was developed by their observations of the universe, of the cosmos. In the West, we decide that we're smarter and that we're the authors rather than the universe itself. So even when the universe is producing shit against our beliefs, we arrogant enough to still nuck and buck against it and say, no. We're not going to accept this, and this.
Well, it's actually the genomes that actually did this negative energy and then passed it down to us, because actually we actually was okay with it. We didn't care about sexuality. We all lived all in harmony until the genomes came in and tried to put that documentation of the Bible into our heads and beat it into our heads. And that's how we created nothing but destruction of our own selves, of who we are. For instance, like now gay people don't want to be gay anymore just because they want to actually try to obtain a structure of the church. Like, this is ridiculous now. They've been gay all their long time and now they don't. Like, this is, it's just ridiculous, just to create more fear so that the parents can abuse their kids in whatever, that God knows what that's going to go on if they ever find any
Deshaun, they don't
femininity
even know
within.
that females can grow whole motherfucking Rick Rose 5 o'clock shadows.
See, there it is. I forgot what you call it where women grow beards. I forgot what you call it.
They don't even
But
know that.
yeah, they have that.
Talking about who looking like a man. These are the same biological women too, who would have to intercept with that resistance. Is that fair? Because once again, to marginalize anybody is to marginalize all people, because there is no universal person. There is no
Right.
universal group. So when you get into marginalizing trans folk and talking about the way they need to assimilate, you're going against every other also biological woman who can't assimilate based upon her own natural makeup.
Exactly. And it's called hirsutism, just so you know.
Yeah.
That's what causes the excessive facial hair or body hair in general. But I saw a comment about that you're proving the point, and you said that they were dressing like females. But my question is, what does it mean to dress like a female or feminine at the gym? Because women can't catch a break. They have been harassed like crazy lately for being too provocative at the gym, purely because they're wearing their cute little Lululemon sets. So they start wearing bigger shirts, not having tight clinging clothes on. Like what? I guess what I'm trying to point out is the more that we try to create some rules and boundaries for other people, the more we're harming ourselves. Like, we're literally making our existence as women harder by constantly policing and controlling what other people do in their identity as a woman, whether they are biologically women or transgender women. I think that we're playing a really dangerous game with our own safety and lives, and we're also making it harder just to exist in our own skin.
Yeah, and
Like, these rules are not just arbitrary. They're not just going to apply to the few. It's just like the president right
there's
now.
some biological 16-year-old girl right now who is saving everything she can to get the titties that society says she should have that she don't have. There's
Wow.
some young girl right now saving up all she can to get the BBL that society says she should have that she doesn't have. This shit is systemic. It's an epidemic, and it is absolutely destroying us. To sustain any of these ideas is shortchanging the young people coming up behind us, is shortchanging those who are in the now. And there is a whole capitalistic system that is completely predatory and capitalizing off of the sustainability of this fuck shit.
It's wild. And I don't remember who said it, but somebody made a comment that biological women that are more masculine looking have it harder in life, and that being trans doesn't give you a pass to be a brick or something of that nature, is what it said. But my question is, what do you tell the biological women that are bricky? Are you saying that they have a past because they're biological? Because they're biological, they have the right to walk around looking like a man, or that
And my whole thing
nobody
is
should
like,
question them?
and to that point, it runs right into Sonny's airy statement. Alex should have waited to go home and use the restroom. No shade. So, but to Sonny's point, since there are bricky, clocky bio women, so when they walk into a space because they got a beard, or because they a bodybuilder, or because they are built more masculinely for whatever reason, they don't assimilate to whatever the status quo is. How are they to go about proving to you that they're a female? Because if they have female on their driver's license, so do trans women. If y'all don't want people just yanking down they draws, I mean, I don't understand like how you even vet something like this, because we've already proven through this live stream that bio women can look just like trans women.
Yes.
So with that being said, how do you vet something like this? If in fact you are mistaking a bio woman for a trans woman, what happens? Are you also saying, chat, that the bio woman should go and get feminization surgery because optics matter and presentations matter, and they should matter to the point that people should go under the knife and slice themselves up 50 million living ways from Sunday and go into medical debt just to appease your comfortability? I mean, like, how do you even really resolve this? Because once again, we have proven through this live stream that transphobia just doesn't impact trans women. Biological women are suffering in various insecurities around how they look physically because of the grotesque messaging of the culture.
Yeah,
and then I wonder why the cosmetic system is $1 billion industry that's mostly made up of women. Women are leading in consumerisms in the beauty and cosmetic sector.
Are they trying to make women as robots or something? Like, oh, you're too big. Oh, I gotta lose
And
weight.
then
Or
have the audacity to
I don't know.
call a biological woman who goes and gets all the feminization surgery a trans woman. Look at how they drag the fuck out of Nene Leakes. Oh,
Okay.
she looking trans. I mean, but look, y'all told people that they need to pass, right? Y'all told people they needed to pass. And even biological women feel the pressure to have to pass and assimilate for equity, for safety, for all the things. I mean, we talking about ending this shit, not finding ways to sustain it. But that's what y'all are actually arguing in the chat. All this navigating the issue is about sustaining and protecting the issue rather than actually dismantling it. But y'all don't want to do that, because to dismantle the issue and set all women free would mean to be inclusive of them trans bitches who y'all can't stand.
Exactly.
And that's crazy work.
Yeah,
It is. And I hate it for the community, for Black women especially, because like anything else, we're always going to be the ones that suffer the greatest under these type of things, and regardless of what y'all may think, I don't care about right or wrong, trying to convince someone that they're wrong and I'm right. At the end of the day, when it comes to statistics and science, it is what it is. The truth is the truth. But if I'm wrong in opinion and theory, say that. But the truth is, I genuinely don't care about none of that. What I care about is when I see Black women coming online, and like Conscious had a panel before about this, and there was this woman that came online and she was weeping in her car, and I mean devastated, because she had been horribly harassed because people thought she was a trans woman. Beautiful Black lady, pretty girl. And to me, I feel like that type of harm is not worth putting this type of rules on people. Like, if being this way, feeling this way towards trans women causes that to happen to biological women, especially Black women, I'm not here for it. And I really can't relate to people that are like, I don't know. I just think it's cruel and it's mean, not just for the trans women, but for the Black women that are going to get caught up in it just because they didn't feel like putting on makeup that day, just because they didn't feel like going to get their bodies done or to get facial contouring so that they present more feminine and not as the way that they were born. Like, I just think it creates a crushing reality for the very women that everybody swears they're trying to protect with these rules.
Yeah. And the Staras and Limskys of the world, they don't care. I mean, like, they are just like, hey, that's a woman's struggle. Bitches need to assimilate. Like, they're like, bio and trans women need to assimilate. And this is, baby, this is, the world gonna be toe up. The world gonna remain toe up, toe up, toe up, toe up. And it's privilege. It's very, I mean, but you know, thank God people like us exist, Sonny, because baby, I wish I would let any of you motherfuckers tell me what the fuck I can and can't do. I wake up proudly, ready to upset the motherfucking world with the bust down. Ready to upset the motherfucking world with the pink hair. Pink thick ass, give them whiplash. But we talking about, baby. I wake up for the pleasure of upsetting the motherfucking world and turning this shit upside the fuck. Now, thank God there are us, honey, in the world who don't give a fuck. And just like y'all thinking we up in here with y'all, the reality is y'all really the ones up in here with us.
Come on.
Y'all stuck with us, baby. So y'all better get with it, honey, because the reality is nobody is going anywhere. And the world would be a better place without these expectations out of people. And we should just really focus on just that, people. Because I understand the issue, but I don't understand the issue because I know the science of the issue. And I'm just like, come on, y'all. Like, we can do better than this. Really, we can.
And I could think I could understand better and maybe have more compassion about the way people handle it if, you know, people could truly express why they feel the way they do. But I've learned over the years from your panels that the issue that they say they have always evolves as the conversation moves.
Yeah.
You know, the problem constantly changes.
And the
to me,
goalpost changes. Yeah.
right. And so it just comes off as disingenuous. So I feel like if people would just say the thing, like say, whether it's offensive or not, the conversations have to be had. Like just be honest about
like
what it
Stara
really is.
actually believes there's a such thing as a baddie. Like Stara actually believes that there's a such thing as a baddie. Do you realize that the baddies you're talking about had to put that shit on for you to consider them a baddie? Without the lashes, without the makeup, without the bust downs, without the bustier, without all the things that one has to assimilate to be considered a baddie, what is in fact the person? What is that?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody born a baddie. Everybody is putting that shit on to be whatever it is that they are. And we have moved so far into that. We've moved so far into our artificial intelligent avatar that we have actually forgotten who the fuck we actually really are. And we've prioritized the avatar over the actual authentic and individual self. And in this way, yes, all people are suffering. But the reason why some people don't believe that they are is because some people have just adapted well to the matrix. It's like second skin to them. Just like a lot of our ancestors, some of them adapted to the field work. They adapted to the plantation. Just like the Israelites adapted to the ways of Egypt. I mean, but you being able to adapt doesn't mean that you are not any less of a victim in the way that everybody else is of this very same fucking system. You have just fully integrated. And that's why you don't feel the contrast. But there is contrast, and you too are a victim of the same system. You are. As Harriet Tubman said, but didn't say, I could have saved so many more of my people had only the motherfuckers knew that they were indeed slaves. If only they knew. That, as Christ said on the cross, oh, Father, forgive them, for they know not, Sonny. They knew not what they, but baby, ignorance can be bliss. It can be bliss, because when you don't know anything else outside of the inside, that can be a comfortable place to be.
I think it's a false bliss because then it leaves you in fear of all things you don't know.
And that's why we end up as perfect prey. I mean, the system knows. The system knows that we really are invested in this shit we're calling reality. It knows. It knows how committed we are to the illusion, honey. The illusionist got us believing in the illusions. The master illusionists have got us to believe in and be invested in their version of reality. And sometimes I sit back and think about it. I said, my God, like, do my people realize that we're living in somebody else's version of reality? Is anybody really doing the work to really be free and to be somebody who is creating the rules themselves rather than being obedient to somebody else's yes and no? I mean, at some point we all had to when we didn't know better, but you know, the fun really began in my life when I realized, oh my God, I don't have to be obedient to this. I can literally do what the fuck I want to do.
But maybe you just clocked it. Maybe it's don't know better. Maybe that's the part that's missing still.
When did you wake up, Sonny? What was the wake up moment for you? When did the light bulb hit you?
Honestly, when I was forced out the closet during college, like that was the moment because I realized it was a different era. First of all, you know, you and I are peers in age, the 40 club. But so at the time, you know, it was way more taboo. And just not accepted. It didn't matter whether you were a gay woman, gay man, all of it was just a no-go. And when I realized all the parameters that people started putting on me when they found out who I love and how I love, people that had known me for so long, I realized that my box was getting smaller and smaller about how I could exist in a way that still made them comfortable or made them, I don't know, identify in me the person that they remembered. I don't know, it was just the juxtaposition of all of that and just the idea that somehow the knowing about who I loved suddenly changed how I'm viewed. It just was mind-blowing to me, and I recognized that people at that time would have been just fine with me minimizing myself and genuinely getting smaller and smaller until I just disappeared for their own comfort. And I recognized that that was not actual love or friendship. And family too, you know? And so for me, that was the moment of like, okay, I'm gonna have to make a choice here. Do I care about the relationship and the connection to these people more than I care about my sanity and my peace? You know, am I okay with being out and yet closeted at the same time to make others comfortable? You know, am I okay with finding love and never being able to express that openly, or having to be in a relationship that nobody knows anything about for the rest of my life? Like, am I cool with that? And unfortunately, for a little while, I tried for the people that I cared about. But I stepped back and realized all the shit they were doing that was just beyond me, shit that I could never. And I was like, they don't care about my opinion on these things. So, and things they were doing was detrimental to themselves, to me, to the community. And what I was doing was just my private business. And it's like, if they don't feel the need to adjust things that affect other people, why the hell am I adjusting something that has no bearing on anybody else? And so that really was the moment of me being like, all right, I'm not doing this shit no more. And I think it also came alongside a spiritual awakening as well, like
Yeah.
really starting to see myself in the fullness that I believe I was created in, that God had for me. And so I had to just stand strong in it. And if people didn't like it or feel repulsed by it, whether that be repulsed in my sexual identity or just my existence in general, my knowledge, the way in which I communicate, the relationships that I entertain and the ones that I don't, whatever it is about me, I had to make peace with the fact that it ain't going to be for everybody. And I was okay with that. I'm fine with it. I don't need a round of applause or a big crowd at all. I just need to have sincerity. It's got to be real, because anything less than that, it's just smothering for me. It's claustrophobic, and it is a fast way to die, to be the living dead. So I had to let it go. I had to let it go.
I was mute. I didn't even know. Yeah, as you should have. Everybody. I always ask people about their great awakening and like, what's the first like peck away at the eggshell? What was the first? And it's different for everybody. So, but that's incredible. People got to wake up. But this is a non-issue for me. I'm not bothered by any fucking body. Don't nobody else's existence threaten me. I don't give a fuck how people give it up. As long as people saying the fuck out of other people's way, I don't give a fuck about what the hell is really happening. Just get the fuck up out of people's way. Like racist people, get the fuck up out of other people's way.
Right.
Misogynistic people, get the fuck up out of other people's way. The xenophobes, get the fuck up out of people's way. The religious, get the fuck up out of people's way. Get out of people's way. Everybody is a squirrel in the system just trying to get a motherfucking nut. And they could do that much easier if you would just do what? Get the fuck up out the motherfucking way. Get the fuck out the way. Every squirrel is entitled to its nut.
Okay.
Figuratively and literally. Well, thank you for being up here, boo. I got to get up out of here, but this was splendid and wonderful.
I appreciate you. Love you, babe.
I appreciate you too. That was our Sunny, you guys. Y'all better get up out of people's way, baby. Life is too short to be bothering the fuck out of trans folk, baby. Get the fuck up out of trans folk way, bitch. Life is too short. Let people get how the fuck they live. Okay. Even Dr. King had to transcend all this shit by saying, can we start to judge folk by the merit of their character instead of by the color of their skin? Are people not defined by how they treat other people, or are defined by your fucking ratchet ass low vibrational belief systems and your little boxes that people have to fit in before they can be afforded a humanity, before they can be afforded decency, before they can be afforded a dignified existence? My God, today. The fact that y'all really want to punch down on people, baby, that's a self issue, baby. They ain't got to do with trans folk. All this shit going on, all this punching down on trans folk, they ain't got to do with trans folk. They got a lot to do with the world. The world is reckoning with itself. And trans people showing up is just being a big ass mirror to society and showing us who we really actually the fuck are. T.S. Madison had a great panel discussion that I didn't get to play. But if you guys check it out, they had a very layered, multifaceted discussion with a lot of activists within the community. Even had a non-binary trans man on the panel. It was a glorious, yeah. I think we got to tear down patriarchy, tear down misogyny, tear down all of the things, honey. So everybody a little light can shine in this world, baby, because everybody got a little bit of light to bring to it. Everybody got a little bit of light to bring to it. Conscious couldn't even say that without laughing. Saying what? Conscious said that's my trans sister And I'm gonna stick, yeah, I'm gonna stick beside the Alexis, honey. I'm an authentic person, so I live for the Alexis, baby. I live for these people who ain't gonna wait on it, bitch. Alexis ain't waiting on it, bitch. She might finally be getting to her sports bra, to her support bra at 40, bitch. But 40 it is, honey. Baby, I love people who just take it by the horns, girl. And they're gonna bypass gold. They ain't gonna collect 200, honey, and they're gonna haul ass toward the promised land, girl. And they ain't waiting on nobody permission to do nothing. And whatever confrontations need to be fucking had, they willing, baby, to give you all that they got, because what they gonna do is live. And ain't nobody gonna tell them how to, where to, etc., honey. So yes, I live for the Alexis, and I think Alexis, like everybody, just like Tish. Tish doesn't look like what's considered to be conventional feminine presenting. She's a butch lesbian herself. Well built. She could be identified as a trans man at any curvature, at any point of the curvature of the earth, Maria. Tish should be able to look how she looks. She should be able to have muscle. She should be able to present in the masculine as a woman. She shouldn't have to walk around in fucking barrettes and a bust down and a mini skirt. She shouldn't have to love the color pink. That's my job. Okay? Like, everybody deserves to be able to be. And here's the thing, right? There are a lot of people who want to manage people's beliefs. I'm not even into living within a managed society, because people should have the right to believe what they want to believe. But the problem in this world is that we don't want to just have a right to believe what we want to believe. We really want to get in other people's way as a result of how we believe. And we really only want people that we consider normal, people that we consider acceptable, to be afforded, the space to live their lives rightfully so. And none of us have that kind of authority, even when we take it upon ourselves to give ourselves that authority. But that same attitude is exactly what justifies the people who commit hate crimes of all kinds, the people who commit sexual offenses against other people of all kinds. It justifies this administration and all that they're doing, because they believe in their ideas. And Donald Trump only wants to be a president to MAGA. He only wants to be a president to Republicans. He only wants the resources to benefit certain people. And Trump is how a lot of y'all look, with y'all ignorance, as it relates to sexuality, as it relates to trans folk. Just apply it elsewhere. It looks just as bad. Just as bad. Just as not. CTV, you live a soft life. I do, baby. I don't have no problems, baby. And I demand motherfucking respect. Demand it, honey. I live in the respect, baby. And I demand it because I love it. Yes, honey, live a very soft, dainty life, honey. I wish I would let the Starras and Lipskis complicate my existence, honey. No, ma'am. Just like Sunny, baby. I couldn't take it no more. I couldn't take faking it no more. I couldn't take it. I couldn't. I had to be honest about my spirituality. I had to be honest about my sexuality. I had to be honest about who I was. I couldn't take it. Felt claustrophobic, girl, trying to be other people's version of normal. Couldn't do it no more. And when I got to that point, baby, I was willing to take, bitch, all the bullets, honey. I was ready, bitch, to die on this hill, girl, because it was either freedom or death, baby. But I was not going to the new world. I was either going to take over the ship, or I was going to jump from that motherfucker, baby. Okay, and from there, it's just been a learning process of learning freedom. Because when you've been born into shackles, you have to learn your freedom. You have to learn liberation. And if you were born into a system with a bunch of other inauthentic people who are trying to go along to move along, oh, it's scary when you don't have no demonstration. When you don't have no demonstration of freedom, baby, and you're doing this shit on your own, you maneuvering freedom on your own. You don't come from a free people. But it's a beautiful thing, baby. Once you get that shit down packed, baby, it's a beautiful thing, child. So yeah, and I want that soft life for all people. It pains me to see what we're all going through, and I just be like, for what? For what? For what? It's easier to just find yourself and put your energy there. Why the fuck are you unnecessarily getting the fuck up in somebody else's fucking way? We're all weirdos. So I gotta go. I love you down. I will see y'all tomorrow, girl, to get into y'all MAGA supporting as queen of hip hop, child. We got to get into Monique, baby, still wanting to put Tyler and Miss Okra down like Michael Myers, baby, ready to still want to put bitches down for 2025, honey. Okay. We got to get into Miss Pat Greer. We got to get into a lot of things. And I got an old nasty piece of docket lined up. So I'll be seeing y'all, child. I'll be seeing y'all, child. I'm a Limsky and Sarah. I want y'all to pray the transphobia off yourselves. Tonight, y'all homework is to pray and tarry for the Holy Spirit, baby. Okay, to pray that transphobia off y'all. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. I love y'all down. If you enjoy everything the King does here, y'all already know what to do on the Cash App and the motherfucking PayPal and chat. I will see y'all later. Peace.